Hey guys, 1012 here. It's been a while since I've said that, so that's kind of fun. I think I stole that from some old Vintage Beef intros. So I want to share like my Python, well, just my coding journey so far. I thought this would be a good idea to like keep motivation and stuff, you know? So I was gonna, I'm gonna do more. So here's what I currently have. Also, ignore my naming conventions. They don't mean much. Uh, this is what I have right now. I mean, not the only thing. I have basically two things here. But I figured I would just show these off and try to recap what goes on in here so I can explain where I am right now. This is my current level. So I've got a bunch of variables here. I think this section here that I've kind of grouped off, this is the part that I kind of want to be customizable. I mean, that's the size of the screen, I think. Or no, it isn't. That's where the asteroid goes. Asteroid. You'll see it. The rot speed here is rotation speed. Rot friction is rotation friction. I guess when I wrote it, I was thinking rote friction and rote speed. Uh, Projectile speed is apparently set to player size +1. I don't remember that. I'm trying to think of why that makes sense. Oh, because okay, there's. I wonder if I can see it here. The way I did the projectile, I have a little coordinate set a certain distance away from the player, and it's getting its speed through just the way I did this. This wasn't necessarily intentional. Just the way I did it, it ended up working out to where it would move faster the further away that point was. Though as I brought it closer, I got a lot of diminishing returns to slow it down. So it has like kind of fast and extremely fast. It doesn't really have a slow option. But yeah, you can change this stuff. So going in here, I think I just copied this from a Pygame tutorial. This part. Yeah, I got all this working. This is just to draw the screen. And then this is to draw the triangle, which is the player character. And this is just setting up to draw it. I thought it was. Okay, here we go. I think I just copied it outside because I wasn't sure if it needed to be outside. I think it wasn't working until I put it outside. So, I can't explain that, but I think it needs to be on the outside of the wall loop for the vertices to work there. I also apparently started all of this at 0. Not sure how necessary that was. The screen center here, just center of the screen. It's just the screen that I draw is 1280 by 720. So the center of the screen is just 1280 divided by 2, 720 divided by 2. That's the size that the tutorial gave me, so that's why it's like that. By the way, I'm recording this off of a really like cheap and terrible laptop. I mean, the laptop might not be cheap, but it was cheap to me. It was used, you know. It's it's got some age to it. Yeah, okay, just skipping past all of that. So here's the different momentums. I'm not a fan of the way I named it, but I don't want to go through and change everything. I mean, it wouldn't be hard. It's just, I can, I can, I can do the find and replace, but I just don't feel like it. So momentum W is just up, A is left, S is down, D is right, that kind of thing. So this momentum is how I do momentum, and it's just while you're right. This part here, I didn't want to be applying the friction while I held down the key, so I added that in later. So when momentum is greater than 0, then it will run this part. And it'll... Okay, right. So the reason this is a minus, the way Pygame is like drawing the screen, Y is down, X is across. So going forward on the X moves you right, going positive on the Y moves you down. I don't really like it, but that's how it is, so that's how I worked around it. So this minus here is actually moving it up. So it's going up by the momentum times delta time. This is how they had to do it. It's down here somewhere. Yeah, delta time. I don't know how this works. I really don't. That's copied straight from, I don't think even a tutorial. I think that was just an example in the documentation. I was like, oh, well, that works, and I took it. Yeah, did I skip over this? Oh, hey, look, a note. Glad I left that. So this is probably a good explanation. What else did I skip over? Hold on. Well, I did skip over this part here. I think my understanding of this, also from some kind of tutorial or documentation, this right here is just so that you don't have to type out this whole thing every time you want to use it. I'm not entirely sure. I think that's the reason. That's just to get the key that's being pressed. And then right here, this is the part that will close the window. So pygame.quit is when you click the X. And then I also... That's from the documentation too, but this is my own added thing. This way, if you click escape, it closes. And this is while running, so running equals true when you start the program. This sets its running equals false. So the nightmare I had here was trying to figure out how to get these triangle points to rotate around. I should just run it. Here, let's run this real quick so that you can see it. I'm pretty proud of it. You can loop around like this. You can go around there. We've got a shooting thing. Oh. And if you hit that, it resets you. That's the game over, I guess. I don't know. I wanted to do more here, but I was feeling pretty good about it by this point, so I didn't get around to like figuring the rest of that out. But if you shoot that, it disappears. There's no upper limit on your speed, so that might be an issue. But yeah, pretty proud of it. The controls are just WASD and then left and right on the arrow keys. Oh, F. Yeah, F toggles that indicator on and off, though I don't recommend turning it off. R resets the thing. It does have one issue, which is when you're moving, it'll actually do that. I don't know why it does that. I never got around to debugging that, so... I mean, I kind of have an idea. So, I'm not going to be able to explain all of this. I don't have that skill, but just to give you an idea. If I go down here, I know it's around here. I left another note. Yeah, so I guess this explains it. I create an imaginary point some distance from the player's position. I mathed from that point to the player position, and then that should be the direction for X and Y. Yeah, so to see how that actually looks, it's... that's fun. Okay, that's basically... Where did I go? On. There we go. This is the same thing as how I draw it. I basically just added another point onto that triangle, essentially. And this goes around with the upper points. I don't remember exactly how that's staying on it. I mean, I know the sine and the cosine, that's figuring out the rotation. Projectile speed, I believe, is actually distance from the player. So I imagine, yeah, player position X. Yeah, so this is setting it to the player's position, and then setting it a certain distance away. And then this is also setting the angle. I can't explain it because I hardly understand it. But yeah, that creates an imaginary point, and then I just, it should say somewhere here. Probably under space, which is up near the controls. Left, right, here's space. So the projectile velocity on the x is the imaginary point x minus the player position x. It's probably pretty simple. Pretty basic way to do it. This is another thing, I don't really understand it, actually. I just kind of thought that it sounded like it should work, and then it did. So I didn't bother thinking too much more about it. Also, I stop you from making more than one projectile. Though I could actually... This was because I didn't feel like figuring this out at this point. But my next project I did after this was actually addressing this and my idea for how it could work. Though I did it in a different way just to stimulate my mind a bit. So we'll get to that. But yeah, basically this just gets... It's basically just getting the distance. Like, this is over here at 10.2, this is over here at 8.4, and I'm just basically, like, subtracting 10.2 from 8.4, and that's giving me, like, 2 minus 2, so then it's just going off towards that. So, yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I understood this to an extent while I was doing it. This is not good. This is not very coherent. I understand. This is the way my brain works. I jump around a lot. Uh, I'm jumping around. I'm jumping right now. Okay, we're going on a trip. So the triangle rotating. I wanted to talk about this. Oh wait, we were here earlier, so this isn't really that bad a jump, right? Uh, okay, this note is just explaining to me. I struggled on this for like 2 hours. I found the issue was I was basically trying to. The normal way you do this is like you're just drawing the points, you're giving them coordinates, right? With this took me after a couple hours. It clicked in my mind what this was, just magically. I didn't get it, and then every so often I would pause and think, and something else would make sense to me. And the final time I paused and I thought, and it came to me. I understood it, all of the math for a second. Like, it just all made sense. I went through and I figured out how the angle was actually working, so it goes up to like, right, it goes up to 2 pi. I reverse engineered it through just brute force. But I did know it was something to do with the unit circle, and I did figure it out afterwards, after doing all of this. Unit circle, if you haven't taken that math class yet. You've got, like, 0 here, is what I'm going to call it. I don't know if that's accurate. But that's also 2 pi. And then down here, you have pi, I think. Over here is... No, over here would be pi. Yeah, half pi, pi. Would that be 3/4 pi? Uh, I know, that was not a good year for me. I don't understand the unit circle well. That confused me quite a bit, actually. But this did look familiar to me when I was doing it, and I knew it was something to do with the unit circle. I figured it out afterwards. These are multiples of pi. Yeah, I took 6.3, which is 2 pi, roughly. And I divided it by 3, and that gave me 2.1, 4.2, and 6.3. And that was just... So, you've got the point, right? That's the center of your triangle. You're then extending out, I think, by the player size here. You're extending out from that point, and that's creating your first dot. That's that top one there that doesn't have the modifier. Then that modifier is essentially rotating it around that point to like here or something. And that's creating the second dot. And then we've got a third dot that's rotated up here. Yeah, that took me a long time to figure out. I'm not going to be a good source of helping anyone else understand this, so I hope no one's watching this to learn. I hope that these videos can be a way for someone in the future to go, oh, that's how people learn this. Because that's a resource I've wanted. I don't know if this would be a good way to figure out how people learn this. But I think it will be nice to see, so... yeah. I've got a bit of a head start on the series. This is my catch-up. This is the episode 0. Next time, I'll try and record me actually creating it. What haven't I gone over? I guess I was going through this script linearly, so let's continue that. There's me setting the imaginary point. Wait, I've skipped over some stuff. Okay. So these are the controls. No, this is the momentum. I went over the momentum already. You've also, same thing, but with rotation. It's just subtracting. It's moving it by the momentum amount over and over again as the while loop loops until it hits 0. And, okay. If it has momentum that is more than 0, the momentum cannot be negative. I did stuff to stop momentum from being negative. If the momentum is greater than 0, then it'll run the if statements in the while loop. And it'll add that momentum on every time it loops. But it'll also subtract a bit of momentum relative to the friction that you've set. So basically, it's adding slowly less distance every time it loops until eventually it just comes to a complete stop. Okay? And the delta time is very important, even though I don't understand it. I think these things here where I set it, because this is, if it goes under 0, then it'll be set to 0. I don't think those actually were necessary, but I did want to make sure that they were there. You know, just in case. So here's actually the control section, which is speed. Let's see if I can find where I've defined speed here, just so you can see that. Okay, speed is just 150. That's all it is. It's not any equations or anything. It's just speed for the sake of being able to edit it from one place. So you're adding, in this case, you're adding 150 to the momentum. So if I were to tap W, I mean with delta time, I don't understand delta time. I know it's doing something. I have a vague idea of what it's doing, but I don't quite get it. But if I tap W, let's just say it adds 150. Then the momentum is going to be set to 150. So it's going to start this if statement up here. So the player's position on the Y, it's going to go up by 150. And then it's going to, that is going to go down by whatever friction is set to. Friction is set to 150. So that's going to be set to 0. And it'll stop. It'll go up 150 and then stop. Now, with delta time, that's going to be some... Okay, ignore that. Yeah, this computer's having some issues right now charging. I don't know why. Probably because this charger wasn't made for this computer. Okay, we're going to hurry. I can't stop that. I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to take it off charge. Okay? So that's all that. Now before the computer dies. That wasn't all of that. request anything, I'll show it with you. I can share this in the description if you want to see it. If you want, yeah, I'll share the code in the description. Go through it and see if you can figure anything out. Ask me questions. I will answer all of them. I promise. I'll do a live stream if you want me to. Okay, I promise you. I can do this from a real computer. Okay, I just didn't feel like it, so I did it from the laptop. But if you have if you want to go to this and you have questions, please tell me. I'll make a live stream or something, or we could do it like a Zoom call or a Discord call. Why would we do Zoom? Zoom's dumb. We would do a Discord call. Okay. But yeah, here's the other thing I did. This doesn't look that interesting. But it's mouse drag. Okay. The thing that was cool here was that I used classes, and I had a part of the script here that was basically adding for every time you did it, it would save it with its own little number here. So blocks, and then the blocks number. The blocks number goes up by 1 every time you draw a square, so you're creating a unique like object every time. Okay, I've got to go. This computer is gonna die. Yeah, this computer has a bad battery. Hold on. Stopping recording. Bye. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Goodbye.